So today we will go through few other scenarios using component events. So we know the purpose of events. So just to pass the data from one component to another component, or to invoke a method from one component to another component. So we use the events. So in component events, when two components are having the hierarchy, when two components having parent and child relationship, so we just define a event and invoke that event in the child component, handle that event in the parent component. So let's go to one scenario. So let's say I have two components, component 1 and component 2. Assume that this is my child component and this is my parent component. So I have two components, child component and parent component. I would like to use events to pass the data from one component to another component, or to invoke a method. So either you can pass the data or invoke a method. Let's say in this scenario, I would like to invoke a method from child component to parent component. So in child component, what I would like to do, I just want to put some input form. Let's say I would like to create an input form to enter the data. And two buttons, or one button to perform the action. The button is save button. Name, phone, industry, 3 columns, and one save button. And I would like to place one title. So this is my component 1, that is a child component. So when I click on save button, I would like to insert a record, so which means I would like to call an Apex method to save a record in account object. And once the record is created, I would like to display the list of all accounts, list of the recent accounts, or list of all accounts from account object. So for that, to display the data, so what you can do, so you can use the lightning component. This is a lightning component. I would like to display the data like this. But what is the difference between? So you can also build the same application. You can also build the same requirement using a single component. But the advantage is reusability. So when you have the component which is already built, so you can reuse the component. Or let's say you are building an application, so you want to use the same component in multiple places. So you can build one component and reuse the same component by passing the parameters, or reuse the same component by calling one from one component to another component. So this is an advantage of the event. But in component events, to invoke one action, to invoke one action from one component to another component, the component must have some parent and child relationship. So in our scenario, the input form is a child component and output form is the display form is a parent component. So this is what I want to design here, but we are not passing anything because this is one action. This is just a save action to insert the record, and this is like get account, querying the account. So just to query the data and showing in a component. So these are the two different actions, the Apex actions. So, but we are not passing any data in between, but we are calling on save. On save, we are calling another method of parent component. When you click on save button, you need to invoke and click on save event. So we need to invoke an action of parent. So this is the action. So this we are trying to do using two components. Let's go to events now. So what you have to do, first you need to define an event. File, new, lightning event. Account event. You can define any name, just account event. So you have to specify whether it is a component event or the application event. So component event. So component. So if you are passing the data in between the components, you have to define an attribute. In my example, I'm not passing the data. I'm just invoking actions from one component to another component. So you don't need to pass any attributes here. You don't need to declare any attribute here. So defining component, child component, child 1, and define the controller also, and I'm defining parent component, let's say parent 1, and define the controller also, just to make all the tabs are in sequence. So I'm defining an application. So and we need to perform server action. These are the server actions. Save and get accounts are the server actions. We need a controller. That is our Apex class. Account controller. So you know how to define method. So enable. So one is save method, insert account, insert OBCK. Once the record is created, just passing the ID back, return ID. If the record is not created, means if you find any error, just return error message. It's the one method, and another method is for data to return all records. Get accounts, return ID, name, phone, industry, one account, order by created date, descending. I would like to display 20 records. 20 recently created records. Order by created date limit 20. So this is SQL query. So these are the two methods. So one for inserting the record and one for returning the data. So these are the two actions, save and get account. So now we have to define the controller in each component. So the reason is we are invoking same class from both components. Now in component 1 we are invoking save, and in component 2 we are invoking get account. That's why you need to define the same controller in both components. So first thing is you need to register the event. So when you define an event, so first thing is you need to register the event in child component. What are the steps in child component? So in child component, we have to, the first step is register an event. Once you define an event, you have to register event, and then we have to fire an event. These are the main steps. Register and fire. So how to register the event? To register the event, how to use register event. It has two attributes, name equal to, type equal to. Similar to the attribute. Even for the attribute, if you define our attribute, what it has, name and type. So here, name is an event name. I call it as a first, or you can define any name. Or type is your event name, C colon account event. This is the event name, C colon account name. This is the actual event name. You have to specify the type as your event name. Then in the input form, I would like to take the account columns. So what you can do, you have to define additional attributes. ACC type equal to account. You can initialize the variable default equal to this object type account. So this is the declaration part. Then we just define the input form. Going to define a div tag style equal to applying some CSS. So CSS is not mandatory, but in order to make our page with alignments, I'm using CSS. So you know how to use the lightning code. It has a title and it has icon, system account icon. Now how to place icon. This is from icon is from the SLES, Lightning Design System. Overall set attribute equal to title customer. So you can also define the same title here. If you don't want any CSS, you can define the same title here also. I'm just applying some CSS H1. That's where I declared a separate title. So you know these parameters, right? So in a Lightning code, so when you set attribute as an action, the buttons will be displayed on top right corner. Lightning button label equal to set. Lightning button label equal to set. So we'll perform the actions again. Just defining the form now. This is for input elements. lightning input value equal to v dot scc dot name scc dot form. So this is the input form. This is just an input form, and you can specify the actions here on click equal to c dot do here and click equal to c dot do. So you must define these actions. Client set yes. So to check the preview, just go to the application and call the component one equivalent component c1 and check the preview. So this is how it looks like. This is the input form. This is what we define now, the first part, input form, where you can enter the data and perform action. Now go to the actions. So what you have to do, so first thing is you have to get the record. So whatever the input that you enter in the form, you have to get it in the controller JS, because you have to pass the same to your controller. So where account record equal to, so you know how to get the record, component dot get of v dot and the record attribute name. And you need to call Apex method. To call an Apex method, you have to use component dot get c dot insert account, and then $a dot enq action to invoke the method. Then you have to pass obj a instance, that is a parameter. So for that you have a method called set params, which is a colon and your record. The record is stored in account record. So this is how you just invoke an Apex method. So once the Apex method is executed, so if it returns the data, so here this method is returning the data. Either it is returning the account ID or the error. So you have to capture the response back. So for that you have to use the callback. This has two parameters. This and some response. Variable state equal to response dot get state. So we have the different state, success or error. State equal to success. Success in the sense there is no runtime errors in the controller code. Then you can get the response. Get return value. This response is actually what the method is returning. So either it is returning the account ID or the error. If the response is not equal to error, which means the record is created. So you just need to invoke event here. I'm just invoking the event here. First you need to get the event. Component dot get event. What is the event name first? Then event dot file. In case if you are passing the data, you have to pass the data before invoke. This is how event execution, fire an event. The statement fires an event. Now go back to another component, go to another component. So in this component, you have to display the records. You have to display the records. To display the records, so what are the attributes you require? The first one is you require list of data. So an attribute is required to store the data, or a attribute name equal to accounts, and what is the type? Type equal to list. And then once you have the data, you need to define the columns. So for that, we need another attribute name equal to my columns, type equal to list. Then I need a Boolean flag to display the table only when a record is only after the action. So for that, I'm declaring a flag variable, which is a type of Boolean. I'm defining div tag. So to display the data, we know what we have to use. We have to use lightning data table. So this lightning data table has three different attributes, sub attributes. One is key field equal to ID, and another one is data. So what is the data that you are passing, and the other one is columns. What are the columns that you are passing to the data table? Data equal to plus the accounts, and columns equal to my columns. So you can refer the component lightning component reference to find the syntax. This is the lightning data table syntax. So this is the UI part. Then go to the controller. So before that, when I click on save button, I'm invoking an event. So this is in the child, but in the parent, so what you have to do, you have to handle the event. So always, so remember always, you have to register an event and fire an event in the child component, and you have to handle the event in parent component. Or handler name equal to event equal to action equal to. So when I click on save button, I want to handle or I want to invoke another action. Display accounts is another action, but you have to define in a controller JS of second component. And event is your event name is account event. And what is the name of the event? The name of the event is first. This is handling the event. It has name, event, and action. These are the three different attributes. Now here, so what you have to do? So you just need to invoke apex method get accounts variable action equal to component of data of c dot get accounts $v dot mq action and set callback. Dot action dot set callback this function and response. Just identify the state first. Response dot data of state. The state equal to success. Then get the response. And set the response to LST accounts. So this LST account is an attribute in a component. We must use the same name and set the flag variable. And before that, you have to set the columns as well. Now the data is ready, is the data part. But you have to define columns. So to define the columns, this is the syntax. You can find the same syntax in component reference rate. So we have 3 columns total. So in each column you have to specify label, then field name, then what is the type of? The type is text. What is the field name here? The first name is name. First field name is name. On the label you can define any name or phone name. So follow the same syntax for other columns. Account name, account phone, and phone, industry. So once you have the columns, you have to set the columns to the my columns attribute. And to handle the event, we have to establish a relationship, a parent and child relationship. As per our design, here this is a parent component. So you must define child component here. You must call the child component inside the parent. Account event C1. Save it. Now account event P1 is a parent component. Account event C1 is a child component. Now if you don't call the child component within a parent, then you cannot handle the event. I'm invoking a parent component P1. Check the preview. Click on save button. Insert account. So event EV it is not defined. EV. Let's see. So now you can see the data of 20 records. So the first record is created. This is the first record. So because I queried the data using order by created date in descending order. So when you invoke an event, immediately it will handle the parent event. It will handle the parent action, that is display account. In display accounts, we are just querying the data. So here, when a component is loaded, you can see the second component empty div tag. What you can do, you can just make it default equal to false. So that when a component is loaded, the flag value is false. And for that, just use our if. The flag value is true, then only display this block. Initially, the flag value is false. After the data, it becomes true. I don't see the other component. When I enter the data, then only it will display the second component. So here is one component and another component. So we are just invoking one action of one component within another action of another component. So this is how the component event works. So, but in order to handle the events, we have to establish the relationship, parent and child relationship. When you have the parent and child relationship, always you register an event and fires an event in a child component and handle the same event in parent component. This is a component events. These are the component events. Let me copy the code. Any questions?
No, Nara, I'm okay.
So let's go to another similar example. So here my requirement is I have two components. So child component and parent component. In child component, I would like to display the data specific to one industry. Let's say specific to one phone number. So I want to perform a search functionality. So what I will do, I'll just enter the industry name here and click of search button. I would like to fetch the list of accounts specific to that industry. So what are the So here are the same. So you can implement the same using a single component, or you can split into two different components. So we'll go for two different components to make sure the reusability. So in case if you feel the other component can be reusable in other places, then we can go for two different components. Otherwise, you can implement the same using a single component. So I have one form and another component, one component and another component. What are the data that you are passing here? So you're just passing the search key, the industry, that is industry key. Industry key from one component to another component is a requirement. At the same time, industry key plays some method execution. So when you execute a method, we are passing an extra parameter. This is my requirement. So you can reuse a second form, because the second form is just displaying the data, or else you can define a new form also, a separate component. First define an event, account event 1. This is my event. This is the component event. Define a component event. But here you need to pass one parameter, because we are passing the search key between two components. So you can define a number of components, there is no limit for it. But in between the component you are passing one key. So you must define an attribute. In case if you are passing an account, you have to define an account attribute. If you are passing just a string parameter, you have to define string attribute. Is a type, which is a type of string. Then define a component, shell component, and it has a controller. And component, and it has a controller. If you define helper, you can define also, or if you define a styles, you can do that. Application, and define an apex class also. So we're not inserting any record here, we just need a method to get the search results. Get accounts, string search param is the method variable, return search ID, name, phone, industry, from account where industry equal to search param. So you have to pass the search key to the method so that you will get back the results. So this is a method declaration. You go to first component. From first component, you are not going to invoke controller method. So you don't need to define the controller here. First thing is you have to define an attribute for key to take the search data. Let's say search key. And you have to register an event. You always register an event in the child component. Register event has name and the type. And define such parameter. Okay. String lightning input. What is the value? Value equal to store the value in dot search key. And the button lightning button label equal to search. And you must do connection. Action equal to complete equal to search data. So if you need to register an event, registration is done, and you have to take an attribute to pass the data that we are using here. This is the input form, the component 1 and the component 2. In component 1 JS, just need to pass the parameter to an event before invoking. First get the search key equal to component dot get of v dot search key. Then invoke the event. Write the event equal to component dot get event. Event name is first. Then event dot have to pass the parameter. Set params and the parameter is key. The same S key is passing to search key. Then write the event. This is to get the event, get the component event, and this is to pass the value to the event, and this is to write an event. 3 steps. Get the event, pass the values to the event, and fire the event. And this is to get the input value. Now go to component 2. So in component 2 we are calling an Apex method. You must define a controller here, and must define a controller here. Then so to display the data, so you need to display the data, you need data variable and the columns. Again I'm defining here attribute name equal to list accounts, which is the type of list. Attribute name equal to my columns, which is a type of list. I need a boolean flag as well, or attribute name equal to flag equal to boolean. So then handle the event, or handler name equal to event name, event equal to action equal to. Action is the controller action, controller JS action, display account, and what is the event name? C colon account event 1. Defining our if is equal to v dot flag data to display the data, what we require lightning data table, and it has key field is ID, it has data, and it has column. data is actual data. V dot industry account. V dot my column. So when you invoke an event, you need to you are passing the value. So here in controller.js, you are passing the value to an event. So you have to get the value in another component where such equal to event dot get param and your key name. So it will give the actual industry, the input key. Then call the controller method, apex method, get account, and pass the parameter pass the key to the apex method. Here the parameter is search for how to use the same name. Then call back. These are the common steps. First get the state, identify the state, state is success, get the result, and set the result to the component variable. Here the component variable is LST account, and set the flag to true. You must use the exact name. Then this is the data part. Now then columns part. Have 3 columns. Each column has label, field name, and the type. This text, field name is first field is name. You can define any label here. Once you have the column, set the columns to the component variable. Columns. Here is the component variable, my columns. Now fill the current component. Before that, you have to invoke field component here. C colon account event 1 C1 set component. C colon account event 1 T1 is the parent component. Save all the components once. check the preview. You can add some CSS, additional CSS. Here, div equal to width pixels. Let's specify margin. Here is the input. Software. When I click on search button, you can see the list of all accounts having the same industry. If I change the industry and click on search, I can see different results. So this is how the search functionality works. So this is one component. The input search is one component and showing the data is another component. So in between these two components, what we are just passing one additional key, that is search key. The same concept. Any questions? Do you have any questions? Raghav, is there?
Yeah, I'm here, Nara.
Okay. So any questions so far?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So we are just done about the component events.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow we'll start application events. Okay.
Okay, Nara.
Yeah. See you tomorrow same time. Bye.
Bye.